Hello everybody, Frankie Day Models. Okay gentlemen, for this Tuesday evening, I have for you video number 1 on my 1974 release of the Ahoy Lancaster by Revell. S for sugar. I've been working on this thing now, guys, for probably about a couple days off and on, and kind of cleaning up the work area out here. I've been doing a lot of work around the garage out there, trying to get my shop out there, fellas, for the winter time, so I can go out there and work on some larger projects, because I most certainly cannot do them in here. I'm limited for space. I'm tight as it is now, but being out there is going to be a lot more better for me for bigger projects. But keep it simple. This is okay right here. Okay, this is a very ancient kit. At one time it was a cat's meow, because at the time, fellas, there wasn't very many Lancaster models out there back in those days. I think the only ones that are available that I know of, well, how do you know Airfix existed back then? Not even Frog. I figured there was no other companies made the Lancaster model until 1963, when the kit first came out, and that was the answer to fill the bill of the bomber force, the Ahoy Lancaster. They started out with the Dam Buster, and then they went out for S for sugar, like the one I'm building right here next to me. And it really came in very handy at the time, and the kit was a very, very most welcome kit there was. Again, in the 1960s tooling, guys, it wasn't the Sunday's finest, let's put it that way. I mean, a lot of you guys out there had a lot of the old school kits from the 1960s from Revell. There are a lot of rivets. Rosie Rivet was getting paid overtime building this thing, and the rivets kind of, hear that? That's rough, like sandpaper, but not for long. I applied primer on this thing. I'm going to wet and dry sand it with the wet and dry sandpaper, all wet. It will give the rivets a lot more lower in relief. It won't be so crisp, sticking out through the paintwork. Okay, behind me I made some stills of the construction of this bird. This is the second build of the series of the Bomber Command, hosted by Mr. Martin Lamott. I got the Hudson next. I'll be toying with the Hudson after I do a little bit of work on this. I'm gonna work on the engine nacelles after this video. Once I get the engine nacelles all done and using filler and such and prime, I'm gonna start working on the Hudson and get that going pretty good. Then I'm going to bounce back on the blended bomber and go ahead and apply the paintwork on it. It's ready for the final painting, and I can do a lot more work before I get to that stage. I got to paint the engines and give the cockpit some more. Should do some cockpit detail paintwork in there. And before I do that, I got some masking on the cockpit to itself. So it'll be a while. So next is going to be the paintwork. So it's coming up to you. I'll probably have oh lordy, good lord. By this Wednesday, I should have a video on the blended bomber. Okay, this video is for the second of the build of the series of the Bomber Command. This is my 1974 boxing in Japan of the Revell Ahoy Lancaster. Okay, guys, we'll zoom in a little bit, and I'll discuss the construction on this thing and explain a little more of its history, how the thing was built. Okay, I think you guys seen this on Facebook, or I posted it on the last video in the blend of my entries. There's Smiling Jack at you again. Thumbs up. Construction began. Took me about a good almost 2 hours to clean this thing up, to get this thing all cleaned up at this stage. The cleaning took me almost, oh good lord, about 45 minutes to clean all the flash off this thing, to get these fuselage halves to mate perfectly without lips and overlaps. Same thing pertains to the wings too. The wings are no snap, they came on pretty good. The airplane went together very, very well as old as it is. You can tell that this thing is an old tooling kit. Okay guys, the underside's up. These flaps work. Of course you see the aileron hanging down. And I applied filler alongside the fuselage halves and also on the nacelles. The other nacelles got to be assembled. They've got to be cleaned up. It'll probably be about an hour's work on that. Assemble same. And go ahead and fill the gaps in that real well and let that dry and sand that and prime it. And join them to the nacelle fronts. And a little more filling around there. Final coat of priming, and that's it. The bomb bay is operable. They give you these bombs. These bombs are molded onto the somewhat kind of a bomb bay. The bomb bay floor. Where the bombs are at. The bomb rack. The bomb bay itself. The bomb bay in reality is not this shallow. It goes down a spell, pretty much down to here. But you got to realize the technology of the 1960s were not the keenest, and we're not aware of scale accuracy. They just got a kit and use a company name. Let's get this thing on the molds and make this thing and get this thing out to people. That's what they did back in those days. There's no nitpicking, no such thing back in them days. This was a king cool kit back at the time. Close-up view. All these, there's no laps on here, guys. There's no lips or gaps on the joining of these fuselage halves. These are all assembled and glued in place already. It took a long time to sand all this flash. They made thousands upon thousands upon thousands and thousands of these kits throughout that time. And a lot of them are available through eBay, auctions, vendors at model shows. Here, there, everywhere, guys. Here's a close-up of the Bombay. Not very cool. Very sparse. Lot to desire. You can see right here, I filled these in already. That's where the old support for the bouncing bomb on the dam buster. What they used the dam buster mold, and they chopped this much off it and made the Bombay and made it the Mark IV version. But like I say, with filler and a lot of sanding and here and there, it comes out to a very beautiful looking model when it's done. Now this is my second attempt at building this type of kit. The last one I built, like I stated on the other video, is the 1965. And I know where I got this now. I bought this at a hobby shop in Japan, Sasebo, Japan. I don't know how many yen I paid for it, but it was awful cheap. Here I am holding it. Flaps are down. These flaps work. This thing was a gimmick model. The Bombay's open and closed. Flaps work. Landing gear folded back and forth. Turrets turned. Back in 1963, what more could you ask for? These things were the coolest kits in the world. I mean, everybody loved these things. At least my generation did. You nowadays, people go, geez, this thing is awful crude. Y'all sure it's crude. It's ancient. And an ancient kit could be made into a beautiful kit with a lot of time and careful building. Time is mostly the important thing about it, make it look right. Anyway, this is at this stage now. Next stage is to get this ugly looking Bondo spotting putty off the leading edge of these wings, off the fuselage, give it a bath and prime it. There I am smiling, got it done. It's all ready to be sanded. I primed it. There it is. Smooth. These are heavy rivets here. You can see it stick out, even in the picture shows you that. Take some wet dry sandpaper, wrap around a squeegee board which I use. I'm taking the kitchen sink, run some water, it's sand back and forth, under, top, sides, everywhere, and get those rivets down a tad. Now, another thing, another feature of this kit, let you know how old it is. It's the thickness of the plastic. My God, you can squeeze all you want to, pinch, and that plastic ain't going nowhere. It's almost like a resin plastic. A polyurethane. Back in those days, they weren't bashful with strong plastic. There's the port side view. Even the wing walks are in there. So before I paint the thing, I'm going to airbrush black paint on there and put some pinstripe tape across there. After it's all done, pull it off, you get wing walks, fellas. You can still see the rivets, how high relief they are, how they pop out. They can be sanded down, guys, and another coat of primer is going to be on here before the final color. That's going to be a long while for now. Not too long, but it'll be a while. Look at the stern, that's how she is. See how the flaps hanging down. I wonder how come they didn't incorporate the other flaps and join these here. I knew when I first got this kit back in '63, not this one, when it first came out back in 1963. Well, I looked at that and says, man, this all kind of flaps this thing had. They had to have more flaps than this to slow a 4-engine bomber down. You can see them, they're molded on the underneath of the wing. And so, like I say, you've got somewhat flaps that work. Now these work very well together. You got a bearing inside here. You got a shaft of plastic. It comes out of here, comes out of here. It plugs into this barrel, this retainer right here, a bearing. And it plugs in, and the end of the axle is like a half moon. That's why it's designed that way, to lock into these bearings. When we flip these up and down like that, they work. So you flip this elevator up, this goes up with it. It's nice, I like that. There it is, starboard side again. The key is, I already put the filler on this thing just once. Not twice, just once. Make sure that when you tackle these old turds, make sure that you work like a vacuum form kit. Make sure the top fits perfect first and let dry. So it's flush. If you just take the word for it of the location pins where they join together, you're going to have a gap here and a gap down the bottom. It's going to be a lot of filler and a lot of work, a lot of stupid sanding that you won't be needing. So the key is clean this thing up very, very well. And join the things together very well so everything is flush, and sand back and forth until it's very close. Then make the top fuselage first and a second. And guess what? It's all flush. No ridges, no lips, no gaps. Apply your filler of choice, wet sand, prime, magic. Underneath, you can see those rivets pop up, how they do. They got to be sanded down like I mentioned 2 videos ago. There's more of it right there. And that's it, guys. That's the stage now. Here I is. And here it is over here. That's it now at the stage, fellas. It's that now. And I'll be doing some work on the engine net cells tonight. Oh, Lancaster's out here. What I'm going to do when I paint the camo on this, I'm going to mask the whole entire wing with masking tape, the whole top, so it's nice and smooth. Everything is perfect. Then I'm going to draw my camo and cut it out and paint. First, I'm going to paint the dark earth first. After the dark earth is painted, then I'm going to tone it down with whites and bring another shade of dark earth over again when it dries. Then when it dries, apply masking tape over what kind of tape this thing is sitting on, the blue masking tape. Mask the whole entire wing, make sure no wrinkles, all the way up to the wing root. top even of the engine nacelles. Bottom, don't worry about it because it'll be painted black. Before you get the camo done, you gotta make sure that, you know, that this thing is perfectly, is sanded down very well and it's masked down. Once it's all masked, you go ahead and apply your dark green by cutting out your patterns. Then, when that green dries, you come back with white, come back with a lighter green, and tone it down. Then you act that, you come back with that dark green again, and bring it tone back a little bit. You can see how it fades out a bit from immersion in the sun. The same thing we applied on the dark earth. So this is going to be a beautiful little Lancaster. It's nice and smooth now. I took down some rivets around here from sanding, and like I say, a lot of these rivets need to be sanded down with wet sandpaper, preferably wet. And we get those rivets toned down a little bit, then the bill will follow. Okay, guys, that's enough of that. We'll bring it back to Frankie Day right here and finish up the video. Alrighty. I'm going to go to the pond tomorrow and check and see if any of that moss and growth is along the bank. If it's all been gone, I'm going to take the Carol Moran out for a maiden voyage to be videoed for you all to watch. And also the Washburn tug, that'll be going out there next. They're all ready to go. They're aching to hit the water. But like I say, guys, you know, I'm afraid, you know, to put it out there in the water with all that moss around. I'm afraid to choke up the screws and get stuck out there. I'm dead duck, you know. So I want to make sure all that stuff is out of there. Even sailboats, they get caught in that centerboard in the keel. They get choked up out there. They're a prisoner of it. I don't know where that stuff came from, but that's the first time in my life I've ever seen that stuff out there like that before, so as long as I've been here. But they said they'd go ahead and clean it up, so I'm going to go back there and make an inspection on it, see if it's done, and get a hold of the boat club and tell them, okay guys, start unfurl and ready to tack. And I'm ready to put this away and work on the engine nacelles and prepare for video number 2 on the Blenheim bomber. That'd be the paint on it. So right now I got a little bit of painting to do on it, the cockpit and the engines, and masking, and the final color go on, all black. So I'm going to paint this exactly as my Armstrong Whitley bomber is, all black. Night bomber. Oh, I forgot to mention this here. Now Martin, Mr. Martin Lamont on Facebook, on Bomber Command Facebook page of his, I gave him a list of squadrons of the Maryland bomber or Baltimore bomber, and no squadrons were available for Bomber Command. So like I figured, these things probably went pretty much out of service for the Royal Air Force, us too, by the entry when the war was declared on both sides. So that explains why it was not in Bomber Command. The thing was obsolete for its time. I know nothing of the bomber in Maryland. It's something out of a 30s design, which it was, and it wasn't suitable for war. It had some features for war, but it didn't do much. It probably was very sluggish, slow, and didn't have much armor to defend itself, and the Royal Air Force saw no need of it, and neither did we. But so that's excluded. There'll only be 3 entries for the group build. So I got the Hudson, I got the Lockheed Hudson, I got the Blenheim bomber, and I got the Revell Admiral Lancaster shaken. So I say I should have the by Thursday. I'll have the Blenheim bomber finished, all done. Might be done by Wednesday. I think I'll have it done by Wednesday. We'll shoot for Wednesday. The final reveal for that, my first build entry for Mr. Martin Lamont's Bomber Command Group build. And I'm getting shaken on the Lancaster and Lamore and prepare some video shots for that. Then we'll get hot on the Hudson bomber and make a little progress in that too. And more videos coming your way. So the next video coming up is going to be it's going to be in the Blenheim bomber. I'll probably have that shaken probably tomorrow. Yeah, I'll get a video of that tomorrow. Not the final reveal.